Good morning, everyone. My name is Meredith Price, and I am the product manager for BitPlane and Imaris. Today, I want to tell you about Imaris 9.3. It's launching today, so you will, if you're an Imaris current user, you can go and find it on the customer portal right now. But hang out with me before you go do that, please. And you'll find more information on our website later today as well. And I'll talk about what sorts of resources and things that you'll find later at the end of the presentation. So today I'm going to take hopefully about 45 minutes to go over the new things in Imaris 9.3 and to tell you about how we got here, why we got here, and what it can do for you. So first off, I want to say that as you can probably tell from my accent, I am American, but I'm sitting here in the Zurich office of BitPlane, where the majority of our developers work. We do have some other ones that are based in Belfast, Northern Ireland, so it's great to be here as we're launching 9.3, because we're especially excited for the release of this product in particular, because we believe it really will solve a lot of the problems and headaches that our users have faced. So we're looking forward to seeing lots of happy faces and smiling faces as we chat with our users in the next few weeks. So I think I speak for the entire team when I say that we really love being, even if it's just a small part of your work and your daily life, we love being part of that and helping you guys perform the work that you need to do and to be part of the science that you're doing. So we want to make sure that you have the software and the resources to enable you to do your work better and faster and to do things in new, innovative ways. And so that's where we come in, is to help you get there faster. And that's where Imaris 9.3 comes in. And so I've been calling it one view, one pipeline, and one place. So the main thing, or the main objective that we're trying to get across, is that you can do many more things within Imaris now, and it can be your one place for carrying out an entire workflow. So I'll go through the different aspects of that and talk to you about what's changed and give you a little bit of an idea of how things work in the new version as well. Okay. So, and I think if you're having trouble with audio, there's a couple of other people on the line that will be able to help you with that. Okay, so when we sat down to think about what we wanted to do for this release and how we wanted to help everyone, the thing that stuck with us after talking to lots of customers and talking to other people out in the field is that each user is generating so much data. They have tens of images, hundreds of images, or thousands of images that they're trying to keep track of. And oftentimes it's that you've taken those images or acquired those images over weeks or years or even decades. And I would find myself in the situation of having taken some over the course of decades that I wanted to keep track of and be able to see and look at maybe 10 years later. And so we also know that everyone has their own way of organizing their data. So as you sit down and organize your file structure, either on your Windows machine or on your Mac, you have a specific way of naming your images and naming your folders and how you organize your experiments and either the treatments or the genotypes within those. And you end up with data that oftentimes you have so much of it that it's not just on your workstation, it's not on the laptop that you use to go to and from work with, and you take it home to get some work done. You also put it on external hard drives, and oftentimes you have a nice institutional network server that you can put your data on as well. And so making sure that we have a product that can work, or have Imaris that can work across all of those different situations, was incredibly important to us, because we want the process of you being able to navigate all of your different images to be as seamless as possible. So as we sat down, one of the first things that we wanted to work on was the arena view. And so that's what I'm calling one view. So if we take a look at arena, right now when you open up Imaris, for the vast majority of people, when you open up Imaris, you will see arena. And a lot of people used it in the past, but we also had some people that decided not to use it. And but this is what it will look like when you open up 9.3. And the way that we are referring to it now is that it's a microscopy image browser, or a file browser for microscopists to look at their images. And what we mean by that is are sort of four things. It gives you, it's mirroring your drives, and I'll get into that, each of these points in a little bit as well, in more depth. So it mirrors your drives. It's very fast. The thumbnails are transportable. And then finally, it is a control center. And I'll talk more about each of these now. So what I mean by the fact that it mirrors your drives is that with internal, external, and networked drives, so all three of those, it is mirroring your file system. And so I just have an example snapshot, screenshot from my file system, and you see some folders that Imaris puts in there, but then you also see that all of the folders that Imaris is showing over here are showed over on the right-hand side. And so what I'm trying to get across is the fact that the folders that Imaris is observing, and I'll tell you more about that when I get into the software, are exactly what you're seeing on your drives. And so then within each of those folders, Imaris is able to detect the files that Imaris reads, so your microscopy images, and creates a thumbnail for those. And so it's mirroring the structure of the folders as well as mirroring all of the files that are within those folders to show you those thumbnails so that you can quickly sort of surf through them and find the image that you're looking for. And importantly, because it's working on internal drives, external drives, and network drives, you can see here I was able to, within my observed folder list, add in one of my internal drives, the C drive, but this E drive as an external drive that I was able to plug in. So we're working with both of those at the same time, and you don't really notice that there's a difference, and that's a good thing. We want you guys to be able to go back and forth between drives as easily as possible. And this is a difference compared to how we did things in the past, and I know, and from talking to lots of customers, we found that there were frustrations there, and so we wanted to solve those frustrations, and based on the initial feedback that we've gotten, we think everyone will be very happy with how we're doing things now. Okay. So that's one important part, is this mirroring. And the next part that's really important is that it's fast. So the view that you're seeing right now, again, it's of this particular folder that was on my external hard drive. What it's showing is that the thumbnails have been created. And what everyone out there in the world is going to experience as they're downloading 9.3 and using it for the first time is that Imaris is going to go through and for your images is going to create a thumbnail for each one of those. And you'll be surprised at how fast it is. And so very quickly you will see thumbnails being populated within this view, and it's very quick. So that's important because we want you guys to be able to do the surfing as fast as possible. And then the next important part is that it's transportable. So once I've created these thumbnails on an external hard drive or on a network drive, those thumbnails are saved. They're very small, so they don't take up that much space. They're not going to eat up the space on your drive. Don't worry about that. But they're on that drive, and that means that if you take your external hard drive to another computer, or if you connect to a network drive from a different computer, a different instance of Imaris, it can read those thumbnails and then very quickly populate the arena view over here on the right-hand side so that you can see that. And this enables a lot of flexibility. Okay. And then finally, there's one more really cool aspect to Arena, and that's the fact that it acts as sort of a control center. So there's a lot that you can see within Arena to know what's going on with your files as they're processing. And so part of that is talking about batch processing, and I'll get to that in the next section, but there's also file conversions and copies. So you can, I'll start with copying and moving. You can, within Arena, copy files from one location to another. You can move them as well, so you don't have to duplicate data. And as those processes are running, you can watch the progress and get an update on those. And so this box, this global queues box, is in the bottom right-hand corner of Arena. It's always there. But what I think you'll probably use most often is this file conversion portion. And so this is where if you've loaded in files, and in this case these are list files that I have, I just took a snapshot of one of these thumbnails because I wanted a zoomed in view to show you that you see a couple of icons here. The first one, if you're a current user, you know it quite well. It's a white cube that shows you that the data set is a 3D data set. It's not a time lapse, it's just a 3D data set. And then the icon right beside it with the arrow stands for Imaris file converter. And so what it's telling me is that this file is not yet an Imaris file, and it needs to be converted into an Imaris file to then go into Surpass and work with it. So that is a change that we've added to Imaris. We want to ensure that everyone has the best experience within Imaris as possible. And we've been saying for quite a while now that the best practice is to convert your files from their native or raw microscopy file format and to convert those into Imaris files. We have a free file converter to do that, but we wanted to make it even easier so that you had everything, again, in this one view within Arena. And so we've now have integrated in the file conversion into Arena. So for any of these files, you can highlight them. You can highlight not just one at a time, but multiple, and you can right-click on them and convert those over into an Imaris file. And then from there, you can open it up and go into Imaris. So now what I'm going to do is, I think this is going to take me back out. Yes, I have one more thing, a couple more things to talk about, sorry. So as many of you probably know, in the previous versions of Imaris, we handled your data in a different way if we were displaying it within Arena. And in that case, it was a database, and your data was held in that database or stored in that database, and we actually organized some of the batch results and your plots, your vantage plots, in a different way than we do now. And so to be able to have you access that data that you've used with Imaris from version 8.0 through this last version, 9.2, to be able to use it in 9.3, we do need to convert that data or change it just a little bit. And so what we've created for you is the Imaris Arena Migrator. And so this is required for you to be able to use that same data that you've had in Arena from 8.0 to 9.2. When you install Imaris 9.3, which I'm guessing maybe some of you are trying to do right now, as you're listening to me, what you'll see is that in the installer, we do prompt you to go ahead and install the Migrator as well. One great thing is that our colleague Daniel Miranda, he's on the support team, was gracious enough to create a tutorial movie to help take you through those steps. He goes step by step and tells you a little bit about each step to make sure that you understand what's happening. This copies all of your data So we're not deleting any of your images. Everything will still be where it was within the old arena, within the old data storage location, but it will also copy it to a new place where, and as you'll see in a little bit, you can observe that folder, that location where the new data has been copied. So we have this extra tool for you, and that will help you help Imaris 9.3 see that data. Okay, so now I'm going to go out of PowerPoint, and let's see, maybe my sharing isn't so happy. Let's share my screen. Okay, sorry for the little blip there. So now I had started up Imaris 9.3, and we are looking at a classic view within Arena. You've seen this before if you've opened Arena. So what you're seeing are the Imaris demo images. Those will be loaded in for you. And I've just selected the cell demo image on the left-hand side. You see a thumbnail of it. Over on the right-hand side, another aspect of this control center is being seen in the upper right-hand side. And you can see the original file name, which was zstack.zvi. You can see the channel names, how many channels are there. You can also see the voxel dimensions, and as well as the total size in megabytes. So that can be incredibly useful for you as you're going through a bunch of different images to find the one that you're looking for. So we have that information there. And then again, just as in an Arena in the past versions, we have this list of different folders. Previously we were calling them assays and groups because you were creating those de novo as you were working with Imaris. But instead now Imaris is looking at the different folders that I have on my drive. So again, the demo images are on my C drive. That makes sense. Those come with the installer. But I also have some images sitting here from my D drive. Okay, so there's a couple of, let's say that in fact you wanted to perhaps add a new folder. So what I'm going to do in that case is I'm going to switch over, and I'm going to show you that you can have a whole other list here, and then I'll show you how I would add in new folders with a new list. So we decided that it was important to have multiple lists, and so you can see this drop-down selection that I have right here. We decided that it was important to have these new lists, and I just clicked on this button to bring up this new window. But we made that decision because we knew that although some core facilities or some labs at Imaris are able to use different logins, and so everyone would have their own Arena view. In some places that doesn't work, and they share a login, and so you don't really want to share this list of folders across maybe 10 different people because it would get could get extremely messy. So instead, what you can do is you can go in and you can click Add, and you can call it Meredith. How about that? And so I now have that. I'm just going to click OK. And over here now within the drop-down, I've got a new list. And I can go in, and with this big button up at the top that says Observe Folder, that means I can add that folder to the directory or to the list on the left-hand side, and in that way you can see it. So I can either do the entire drive, or I can do specific folders, and it's up to you however you want to do it. And I'm going to do the entire drive this time. Just select the drive. And I wanted to do that because what I'm going to do is I want to show you how you can actually hide a folder. So let's say that you added the entire drive and you've got 50 folders, but there's 2 or so that you want to hide from view because for whatever reason you're not going to work with them. Maybe they're not microscopy data, so they're not applicable to Imaris. So you can right-click on your on a folder or on an image, and you can say remove from arena. Okay, so now it's disappeared. What's handy is that you can also show the removed items. So that's up here under the arena menu, and it shows you the removed items. So I've removed some of them in the past, and that's fine. So Imaris was hiding those for me as well. And if I want to bring it back, I can go up to this folder and say restore, and now it changes colors and it's not X'd out anymore, and I can go back and hide all those removed items again. So although it's mirroring your system, it's also giving you the flexibility to define exactly how you want to view your data sets and your folders. Okay, some other things that you may have noticed when I right-clicked was that you can do the copy and the paste. You can rename folders and do that sort of thing. So you do have that sitting there within the arena view. Let's see. So some other things that I wanted to talk to you guys about were that not only does it handle just the types of files where you have one image per file, it also handles TIFF files in a special way to make your life easier and to make things easier to visualize. So on this D drive, I have a folder of TIFFs that represent just one data set. Yet, if I look at the original folder, and so I've brought it up here, you can also right-click and do Show in Explorer. I think that brings up my folder here for me. What you see here is that Windows is giving me thumbnails as well, but I have so many different TIFF files, and they truly are all from one single data set. It's actually one of our demo data sets. But when Imaris is able to recognize your TIFF files, it will automatically create just one thumbnail for those TIFF files, and so you see that here. And so it makes your life easier as you're trying to visualize all of those. So that's one cool trick. Another really cool trick is that if you have a data set that in this case is a LIF file, so LIF files as well as CZI files and maybe some others, are the type of files that within them they have a number of different images. And so if I were to look at the folder for these files, you see that there's just condition 1 LIF, condition 2 LIF, and that's it. But within them, I have a number of different images. And so here, our development team has a nice implementation of showing you the thumbnail for each of those images straight away, and then also helping you visualize the organization of those. So some of you may notice already that there's a colored bar that's running across the top of the first 9 images, and so it's like a greenish yellow. It's randomly chosen, so it will be different for the different images you have. And then we have a purple bar going over the rest of them. And so it's a nice way of just very quickly knowing which images go along with which file or which experiment, that sort of thing. So that's there for you. Beforehand, I did tell you about the conversion, and so I want to introduce that to you right now as well. So if I were to double-click on this image right now, it's going to throw up a window to me and ask me a question very nicely. So would you like to convert this file to an IMS format? Because it's not the native IMS file now, and we need to convert it to be able to open it up within Imaris. And you can make this go away in the future. But so I'm going to just hit OK, and then you can see that it goes down into the file conversion window. These images are pretty small, and so they get converted quite fast. As I mentioned before, you can highlight more than one file, and so I just used Shift to do that, and I can convert the rest of them, and you see them being added to the file conversion window. And it's updating those thumbnails as it goes. So we have that. Yes, so we have that added, and now if I just double click on one of those files, it does take me straight into Imaris, and I can work with it just as I did before. So again, that change is all about making sure that the workflow for you is as fast as possible. So remember that you can use Arena or use an Imaris file converter to convert your data. That Imaris file converter is found on the downloads page on our website. It's found on the portal. It's free. It runs on PCs and Macs, so you can put it on any computer you want to be able to convert those files over. Okay. You'll also notice that I didn't, when I converted these files, it didn't duplicate or add any more thumbnails than were already there. And that's because Imaris is doing, is only revealing to you the most recent file. And so you can see this at the bottom of the sort of dialog that has popped up along with my cursor, where it says at the very bottom, image stack size 2. And so that means there's that raw lit file as well as the Imaris file there. If for whatever reason you want to remove the Imaris file, you can highlight just one image or highlight multiple images and select revert to original image. And this is true for doing feature analysis and batch processing as well. Okay. One last thing that I do want to say is that because we have changed the way that Arena is looking at your data and organizing your data, the fact that we don't have a database and that we're not using a central data storage location, for those reasons, this version of Imaris works very well for users that are have a server set up or have a grid server set up where they're doing app virtualization and using Imaris in that way. So for those users that are doing that, and we do recommend going ahead and upgrading to Imaris 9.3, and that will allow you to use Arena and to make the most of Imaris. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is go back into the PowerPoint and go over the changes we've made to batch processing. And I'm sorry for sort of going back and forth, but PowerPoints can be boring and Imaris is much more interesting. So this is when I was talking about one pipeline and when you got the webinar invite, what I was referring to is that we have made improvements to our batch processing workflows. And in particular, what we've done is we've integrated our image processing filters. And so this screenshot that you see here will make a lot more sense in a couple more minutes when I go back to Imaris. But it's here to illustrate that you can tie together multiple filters. So it could be 2 Gaussian filters, so one for each channel in an image, or it could be different types of filters. You could do you could invert your channel. Those image processing filters that we have within Imaris are available for batch processing. And then you can feed that image into our object detection wizards. And so you can perform, you can use the surface wizard, spots wizard. You can do surfaces on every channel that you have and spots on every channel that you have. And all of that is contained within one pipeline. So when you go to actually run a batch process, you just say, you say run batch, and you do it once, and it works with all of those images within your folder. And so it's there to make your life a lot easier and a lot faster, and so that you can do the most amount of work staying within Imaris as possible, so you don't have to have that have to deal with this, the extra work and the extra thought to go back and forth between different programs. With this change of implementing the ability to use our image processing filters, we've also added a new mode, and so I just shortened it. It's our image processing mode, and you'll see that within the surpass view, or the main 3D visualization and analysis view of Imaris, there's a big button at the top for this image processing mode, and I'll take you through that when I get into Imaris in just a minute. Okay, and then one other thing is that the results are editable, and so before we had locked it blocked it for you, and I know that some people gave us the feedback that that wasn't a realistic thing to do, and so the results are editable now. And also, all of the results are saved within your Imaris file, and so for some people that want to make sure that the data is portable, transportable, as I was saying. Once you've done a batch processing pipeline, all of that information is there within just one file. So if you grab that file and take it with you to your collaborator's lab, or you put it on Dropbox for to be able to work with it somewhere else, or backing it up, you don't have to think about if the batch results are there or not. They're all within that one Imaris file. And again, Arena is just going to show that one thumbnail per image. So after the analysis has been done, the batch processing, it will show just that one image, and it's not going to duplicate and have a lot of thumbnails for you to sort of sort through. And as I mentioned before, we do have restore points. So if for whatever reason the batch processing isn't great, it is super easy for you to go back and restore back to the previous version and try again if you need to. So I'll show you those tools now. Let me get out of here. Okay, so I am actually going to keep working on these data sets. And what I want to show you is that how to first set up a batch, and it will show us the image processing mode or view right away. So select the image you want to use to set up your batch, and so for me, I'm just going to select this first one, and I'm going to click on the button at the top, New Batch, and this is our new view. And so what you can see here is that you have a split view, split vertically. If for whatever reason you want to split it horizontally, you can also do that. And for right now, you're looking at a volume view, so a maximum intensity projection of your data set. And for what I want to do within this batch, with this data set, I want to count the number of cells or nuclei that you see in the blue channel. And I also want to reconstruct that green label as a surface. So for counting, I'm going to use spots. And as I said before, I want to understand that green channel and how much is labeled in that green channel, so I'm going to use surfaces for that. But before I get there, what I really want to do is not just count and have an understanding of the green label, I also want my image, I want to smooth my image a little bit because it's a little noisy. So what I'm going to do is go over here, and you see that we have a commands heading, and we have each of our channels listed on the left-hand side. So we have green, blue, and red. And that, course, they're in the order. That corresponds to how you would see them in our display adjustment window. I'm going to put that off to the side for a second. I'll bring it back up in a little bit. And I'm going to just make that a little bit bigger. Okay. So now within these drop-down menus, you see the filters that you have available to you. So these were under the image processing menu in Imaris previously, and we've moved them here. And you can see that we have Gaussian, median, baseline subtraction, all those things that you've used before. And previously they would bring up a whole new window, and that's how you would work with them. And what we've done now is instead we have the split view. And the great thing about it is I just increase the filter width. The great thing about this is that I immediately see my original data set, and then on the right-hand side, I see my process data set. So the green channel was smoothed a little bit with the Gaussian filter, and if you have a large data set, you'll often see that this preview window doesn't include your entire image. And you can, even if you don't have a big data set, you can make that preview window smaller, and you can zoom in and you can pan around just like you would in the rest of the Surpass view. And so I can bring up this if I need to as well on the bottom panel. And what's nice is that as you make that preview box smaller, your update is going to be much faster, and because you're only looking at that region, or you're only applying the filter to that region. So we have that. I also want to show you that you can go in and look at a slice view. So before I was looking at this volume view, now I have a slice view, and there you'll see this white line, and I'm moving it within the XZ view so that I change the Z plane in this upper XY view that I have. I can also, I can also move the white line up here, and that changes where I am in my bottom view. Okay. So other things that you can learn is if you go in the top and go into the very corner, that's how you can move and adjust the size of your box. You can also just grab the edges as well to change the size. And then if you get close to the corners but you're not right up in the corner, that's how you can move your box around. Okay, so so far I have created a Gaussian filter for the green channel, but the next thing I want to do is I want to use the exact same filter width on both the blue channel and the red channel because it smoothed out some of that noise for me, and I think it'll work for those channels as well. So we also have a handy copy and paste set of buttons on each of these lines, and so I'll hit copy, take it down to that blue channel and hit paste, and also on the red channel and hit paste. And now you see in the bottom left-hand corner that Imaris has gone through and updated the preview by now because it's such a small window. Every time you add a filter, Imaris will give you another blank drop-down, another line with a blank drop-down, so you can add a different filter type if you like. So you could go in and do baseline subtraction and play around with that if you want to. In this case, I'm not going to do it, but I did want to show you how that works. So to get rid of it, you can just go back to the drop-down and pick the blank selection, and it will delete that line away. Okay, so now if you're happy with what you want to do in terms of image processing, you can go, you can click Next, and this will take you to where you can set up your batch processing for your object wizard. So I'm going to do this part pretty fast because I believe I'm talking to mostly existing customers. So hopefully most of you know about our object detection wizards. So I'm adding a spots object, and I'm just going to go through the wizard, and I think these guys, let's see if they're about 6 microns. Oops, wrong channel. Haha. I always try and tell people that. Not to worry about that. Oh. Yes, so right now it's saying spots will be computed on the preview region, and then it will run it on the entire image once it's done. So I switch it to the blue channel, use about using a spot size of 6 microns. I can adjust my threshold if I want to select more or less of the spots. And then I'm done. Now I want to go in and create surfaces for the green channel. And these guys are about 15 microns in width, and so that's the parameter I'm going to use for background subtraction. And now you see that it has reconstructed those green cells. I'm going to keep it just where it is automatically with the threshold. It now goes to the filter step. I'm going to keep those. I'm going to keep the big stuff in there and get rid of the little things. So I adjusted my filter a little bit, and now I'm going to go to the next step. So now it's showing me just what the results would be within that preview. But and so now I can hit OK, and it asks me to name my new batch. And so I'm going to call it Gauss filters and spots surfaces. And of course you can name it whatever you like. And I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And what it's done is it's added this new batch icon within the arena view for me. And just like if I could select on an image, and I see image information over here on the right-hand side, when I select this, I'm getting information about my batch, my my batch protocol or my batch pipeline over here on the upper right-hand side. And another thing that's really nice and really cool is that we're representing it as these puzzle pieces, and you can go in and click on this pencil button to go into what's down here, which is the pipeline editor. And so you can see exactly what's going on. I can click on this Gaussian filter and get more details if I want to. So it's telling me it's for the first channel. That's why it says on. And as I switch, it will tell me that it's on for the second channel for this one. And if for whatever reason, let's say you go to your boss or you go to a collaborator and they're looking at the results and they don't like some aspects of this, you can, and let's say you don't want to have the Gaussian filter for the second channel, you can right-click on it and remove it. And then you can save this pipeline with a different name and have a different variation of it. So you can go in and edit these and move around these puzzle pieces from one pipeline to another. So that's great, and gives you a lot of flexibility there. So you don't always have to go back through that new batch workflow to get a pipeline. And then once you're ready to go, you can go in and right-click and say Run Batch, and you can run your batch processing on all of the data sets within the folder. So for now, just because of time, I'm not going to do that because I am running a little bit slower than I expected. But again, after you've run your batch processing, all of the data is going to be saved within the data sets. And so I think I do have an example of that. If I change my list and go back to those demo data sets, so if I go to control, yes. So I have different pipelines here that I've already made, and I've run batch on these. And so I can open this up and look at the results. And so I have some spots here that I detected for the green channel. And if I go back to Arena, I can show you that if I wanted to revert to the original image or go back to a previous version of this image before batch processing, I can do that just by right-clicking on them. So again, you don't have to go into your file system and delete out images and that sort of thing. You can work with it just from within Imaris, where you're seeing exactly what's been done and seeing where the batch results are and that sort of thing. And so you can see here that when I click on this data set, you see the batch history for this image and for this folder, and you can see that I ran the batch pipeline that I called new. So that's this one right here. And if I wanted to, I could go and look at the data within a Vantage plot. So again, very similar to what you've done in the past with batch processing within Imaris. And also, I could click on Save and export out a CSV file or an Excel file to be able to look at that data. So that'll open up Excel for me. Yeah. Okay. So that was nice and fast. Okay. So far I've gone over the one view, so that's Arena, as well as one pipeline, the changes that we've made to batch processing. And now I'm going to go over our last section, or our last big new addition to Imaris 9.3, and that is the integration of deconvolution within Imaris. So we have heard this request. I used to be a salesperson over in America, and we heard this request over and over and over again. And oftentimes when we spoke with the customers, it was the fact that they just wanted to sit at one software and be able to do all of the steps of their image processing, of their image handling, just in one location, one place. And so we heard you, and we integrated Clearview GPU accelerated deconvolution. This is a product that was developed at Andor, so that's our parent company. They have implemented it and have been using it within one of their products, the Dragonfly Confocal. They've been using it for quite a long time, so it's well thought out and it's been well vetted. It uses for the iterative method, it uses a Lucy Richardson implementation, and the important thing is that they've made it very, very fast. And so you should notice that the speed is impressive within this. And so it is GPU accelerated. That's where we get the speed from. And if you want it to be even faster, there is an inverse filter method. It's called the FAST method inside the software, and that is available, but it's not as obviously as sophisticated as using the Lucy Richardson method or the iterative method. What I find so cool about this, such a dork, is that it's able to run on both Windows and Macs. So we are bringing to you guys the ability to do GPU accelerated decon on Macs, and that's something that you haven't been able to do before. And so I'm very excited about that because I know we have a good number of Mac users out there. And not only is it running on Mac OS, it's also using OpenCL, and that allows it to use both NVIDIA as well as AMD or Radeon GPU cards. And so you'll see more details about that on our website about exactly what is supported, but you are able to take advantage of that speed that you get from running this process on the GPU. You are able to take advantage of that again within Windows and Mac hardware using either NVIDIA or AMD cards. And so this is a big jump forward for a lot of our users who have been constrained with the hardware that they needed to purchase for the GPU or for the deconvolution algorithms that have been utilizing the GPU. And so here's just an image. This is a confocal image, and so the resolution or the quality of it is quite good to begin with, but you can see in the before it's sort of hard to make out the striations in these cells. However, on the right-hand side, you can very clearly see those, and what it means is that if you can separate those by eye much more easily after deconvolution, it also means that as you take it into Imaris to find objects, you're going to have a much easier time separating those when you use something like spots or surfaces. And so we're hoping that many of our users will go into Imaris, and now since it is in one place, it's not a separate program, go ahead and use deconvolution where they might not have in the past and be able to get even higher quality results out of our object detection wizards. Okay, so let me go in and show you. You've probably spied it already within the software, but let me go in and show you exactly what we're talking about. So, so I can go to this data set. Again, this is on my B drive. I'm just going to open it up. And in this case, I've opened it up and gone straight to the surface view. Some of our icons have changed a little bit, but hopefully they look similar enough that you can navigate your way around. But what you'll see here is that we have this new button to the right-hand side of the 3D view button, and it's for image processing. Okay. And so again, it takes me in here, and we are seeing a XZ view as well as an XY view, and straight away we have a preview of the entire data set, but because nothing has been selected on the left-hand side, we don't see any differences or any changes. The first thing I'm going to do is I am going to make this preview window smaller so that everything will run a little bit faster for us. And again, I highly recommend doing this because if you're going to zoom in anyway, you might as well make your preview window smaller, and then everything goes faster. One thing that I failed to mention earlier when I went over this window is that if you bring up your display adjustment window, you will notice that every channel has been duplicated. And in front of the duplicated channels, you see preview. And so for the left-hand side, it's the top 3 channels. And for the right-hand side, it's the bottom 3 channels. And if I uncheck blue in one of the channels, the other blue channel goes away as well. So in this case, let's just look at the red channel. So I unchecked both of those, and I am going to keep this up. I'm going to get rid of advanced and just put it down here for the moment. Okay, so now I can go into my list of different filters as well as deconvolution. So some of you may have spied it earlier. And when I select that, in the bottom section where the parameters pop up, you'll see that we have a standard set of options that most of you would be familiar with if you've used deconvolution before in other programs. Again, we have a standard set as well as advanced. You have your option of which algorithm to use. By default, this is set to the robust or iterative method, and I would recommend that for most people unless you need a result that's super, super fast. And we have found that the number of iterations works best when it's set to 10, but again, you can change that and you can play around with that. So if you feel like it's gone too far, you can knock that down. And then we have a set of acquisition parameters that you need to make sure Imaris has the information for and the correct information for. So this is a data set that did come from the Andor Dragonfly confocal. That is a spinning disk type of microscope, and so that imaging modality does come through. And we have the emission wavelength as well as the pinhole sizes that were used for that specific image, and the lens magnification and NA and all of that good stuff that you're used to seeing when you're doing deconvolution. I do have one thing that I need to fill in, which is which type of immersion medium we were using with this objective and with this image. So I select oil, and as soon as I've filled in that last bit of info, you see that the preview ran, and you saw this progress bar proceed down at the bottom, and in the right-hand corner, or on the right-hand side, you see this a new image, and it's a little saturated, so I'm going to go in and back that off a little bit, and I can back it off also for the other channel, and now I'm going to zoom in, and again, these are synced, as you can see, and so you can get a pretty good idea, or just make sure that you're looking at like for like in both cases. And what I want to do actually is, that's okay. So what comes out to me again quite readily is that I have a better understanding of the striations when on the right-hand side versus the left-hand side. And then, yep, I'm going to go into slice view, and you can see that a little bit better. That you get a much better understanding of what's going on in those cases, and in that case with striations. So the intensity levels are different from one channel to the other, so you will need to adjust those to make sure that you're looking at the best intensity levels, min and max, for each of the channels so that you're comparing them, but you do have those there. Let's see. So for deconvolution in general, we're super excited to have you guys try it out. We have some other images that our sales team is going to be showing and playing with you. And we're also happy to have you, as you're trying it out, to send us your data sets, and we'll work with you and make sure you're getting the best results possible out of the deconvolution algorithm. But we're excited to see everyone using it and integrating it into their workflows now that it's much easier for everyone to do that. Okay, so I did go over my time, but I haven't used up an hour yet, so I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint, because I do want to let you guys know that later today, I don't think it's up right now, but later today we are going to have the more information about this release and the features that are within it. It will be on imaris.oxinst.com. So I've got it there. If you go to our previous website, bitplane.com, it will take you to the new website. So the look and feel will be a tad different, but you'll still be able to find all of the information that was there previously. We have videos that explain and go over what I just went through. We'll also have the recording of this, so you can watch and listen to me again if you really want to, but for maybe others in the lab. And then Anna has made lots of video tutorials that go into a little bit more specifics, but nice like 5-minute tutorials on different aspects of the release. And so you'll find those on the website and on this 9.3 page as well. We also have our release notes, and there you can find maybe more of the technical details. And along with that, there's the list of bugs that we have fixed. And so if you're interested in those in particular. And then finally, you can request a demo version. So if you are interested in perhaps adding batch to your Imaris license or adding the Deconvolution license, the Clearview license to your Imaris package that you already have, you can reach out to us that way or contact your sales rep, and we'll make sure to get that to you as quickly as possible. Okay, and now I get to be kind of mushy and weepy. I wanted to take a minute to thank a lot of people. So first of all, our users. The migration tool in particular was a place where a lot of our users were extremely helpful and very friendly, and we really appreciate it. I know that members of our support team as well as our development team talked to a lot of our users. It was fun to get the feedback, and we just appreciate everything that everyone's done to help us get to where we are now. So along with that, our support team worked very hard and took on sort of dual roles to help us get here as well. And so I want to thank them and make sure they know that we appreciate them very much. Our marketing team, as always, helps us to have these webinars and have beautiful websites and really implement mostly these wonderful ideas that come from Anna's mind and actually get them down onto browsers, internet browsers. And so thank you, Anna, for everything that you do. And then finally, the development team. So Arena has been our life for a while now, and it has especially been Michael's life for a while now. And he has pushed through and delivered something that I think a lot of customers will be very happy about. So thank you very much for doing that over the last many months. And at the same time, we're working on really fun stuff. So I am in Zurich here so that we can decide on what to do in the future and to make sure that we're on the right track for the releases we have planned for the rest of the year. So you're going to hear more from us. You're going to hear from me pretty soon again, actually. We're excited, and we have a great team, and I'm very thankful to work with the people that I work with and to work with the users and the customers that we have. So thank you, and I'll stop being mushy, and I will stop sharing, and then hopefully we can answer some questions.